As I said, super happy to have you with us. We're going to start the panel right away. We're just waiting for Seb. I know where is he. Justin Kim from Ava Labs. If you are here, come to us. You're there. Perfect. I'm Flavien Defrère, Director of Global Development of the BGA. Super happy to be here with us. Welcome. This event organized alongside with PlayToEarn and the BGA. We're super happy about it because you're going to see the full spectrum of what we could say about blockchain gaming with two panels with super interesting people that you may know already, but also pitch sessions that you can have right there in the forest room. And obviously other opportunities to meet blockchain gaming projects with a lot of different rooms you will have outside. So the other thing I wanted to say was about, and after that I'm going to ask our panelists to come on stage, will be, you may be aware of the State of the Industry report we do on a yearly basis, that the BGA is going to be the fourth year. We will publish the state of our industry through a report. And we are in the process of releasing the survey to every one of our members, but also everyone involved in the blockchain gaming ecosystem, which might be you as well. So please make the time. You have a lot of leaflets outside, but make the time to scan the QR code, and you will be able to fill out the form. The good thing about it is today we are super happy to have some gift for you if you actually reply today for the report, for the survey, which will be Amazon vouchers, but also send tokens as well. So super cool gifts for the ones who will be able to fill out the form. And without any further ado, I would love to have our speakers on stage. So Gabby, Seb, Justin, if you can come on stage, and Thomas would be perfect. And thank you. Yeah, you can respect the picture. It's up to you. It's really no problem with that. We're not going to make a big deal. We have 4 mics, so obviously I'm going to share everything with you. Obviously, so the subject you see is Web3 gaming success, maximizing Web3 gaming success. What does it mean exactly? If we could actually give a definition of what is success in Web3 gaming. So I think we have the perfect panels for that, and the perfect speakers as well. The first thing I will say will be, if you can, every one of you introduce yourself shortly, but also respond to the first question I will have to every one of you, which will be, what will be the one definition of Web3 gaming success, or success, what is the success of Web3 gaming in your opinion? So starting with you, Seb, if you can.
All right. Hello, everyone. Well, I think there's 2 parts in like what's success in Web3 gaming. Like first part is success in gaming alone, like trying to get players to retain them and like eventually monetize them. So like really short answer on that one. And then what success in Web3 is actually like being able to drive new users to actually adopt blockchain, to make transaction, to become to enjoy being part of this paradigm shift of like ownership of their digital asset, their identity, their token, and like not necessarily being ultimately converted and like preaching Web3 everywhere, but at least like to understand that there is a gap between what they were playing before and what they are now playing with like those different games, and like their ownership matters in many aspects of the game, and they can leverage that both financially, but also for governance, for like the creator economy and more.
Yeah, so for us, because we curate and then aggregate these guild communities that go into different games, success for us is having a sustained community. Some of our guild leaders who are actually here today, some of our community members have been with us for the last 4 or 5 years. So these aren't just users that are metrics in our dashboard that we get and retain and churn. These are actually people that we know and we have like years of working relationship with. So I want to make sure that we are able to add on not only these community members, but sustain them over the next few years.
My name is Justin. I'm head of Asia for Ava Labs, and Ava Labs is a company behind Avalanche. We support ecosystems on Avalanche. We're infrastructure provider, right? So the picture that we have that's a sign of Web3 game success is the day when we don't see there's a game powered by Avalanche. It's like you don't see Netflix powered by AWS, right? So we're waiting for the day that Avalanche and all these L1s, L2s, infrastructures just go in, fade to the back, and everyone's just buying items and treating it as a real thing. So that's the picture of success that we have.
I think there's a game that's about to do that for Avalanche very soon.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hi, I'm Thomas, so co-founder of Coliseum. We're building a protocol that actually enable people to bet into any video games and Web2 video games, so that's really important for us. So a bit like what Sebastien said at the beginning, I think for us it's really important to use it as an on-ramp solutions to on-ramp people, Web2 players to Web3 ecosystem. And with the solutions we are building, we believe that it also enables the ecosystem to be more sustainable from a financial point of view. So that's really our goal. And once we reach this on-ramping for us, I think it will be a success.
So perfect. You made it easy for me because everything you just said, we're going to go deep into those details because definition of Web3 gaming success is about how to activate a specific community, but how to retain them as well. So we're not much talking about Web3 gaming, but gaming, as you said as well. So coming back to you, Thomas, how do you see decentralized infrastructure, because that you're building, bringing new competitive elements to a game specifically?
So, so if I take what I really like about the title of the panel, and it's what you're asking, is that you take activation and retention, and we speak more often about activation than retention in Web3, and I think it's what we've seen in the past years. And I really believe that since by definition Web3 is a financial protocol, it's really it's a temptation for protocols to use financial incentives to bring user at the beginning, but we really need to find the right balance between that, because then the retention is much more difficult once we've used a lot of incentives. And I think that everybody is tempted to do it because obviously we want to grow as fast as possible, and that's kind of a race. So I really believe that we need to respect kind of the users and the protocol in general, so that we really find sustainable solutions. And for us, I think that what we are trying to do is that we are not trying to completely create new stuff. We want to use what exists in Web 2 and what retain people, because actually in video games, people are there is a huge retention in Web 2 games, and actually we want to offer an infrastructure on Web 3 to do the on-ramp, as I said, and I really think that's the key for us. Obviously, it's our strategy, and yeah, so I think it's what will bring us more users and give us a good retention. And actually leveraging what already exists in Web 2 for a long time.
Awesome, thank you. Maybe like a lot of people in the room, but on my side, I'm following YGG for quite some time. So it's not in a nascent industry as ours, it's not always easy on my side to see the big picture of what will become the Web3 gaming ecosystem. And seeing your evolution as YGG is super interesting. And at that point, being the infrastructure for guilds, when you explained that, I think it was at the beginning of the year, the infrastructure for the Web3 guilds like World of Warcraft, I understood immediately what you meant for that. So my question could be, we're talking about acquisition, we're talking about retention. In the Web2 world, guilds, they are massively important to actually for that purpose. And how can building on-chain infrastructure change the way guilds can be used to activate a specific audience, in your opinion?
Yeah, so for those that are used to playing MMOs, you're very familiar with the concept of guilds, right? We probably joined a World of Warcraft guild or some other MMO guild at some point. And especially for like Chinese and Korean MMOs, this is something that's very prevalent. Even in more, I would say, like mid-core games like Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, these type of guilds exist. What on-chain guilds do is that it takes this property of people who are grouped together for the express reason of like doing something together, whether it's playing a game or earning tokens, and then putting that primitive on-chain, which means that now I have my permanent identity as a guild, as a group of people that is separate from myself as an individual. In the same way that, when I start as a business, I may be starting with myself as a freelancer, and then when I try to scale, I build my own company or an LLC. So I see what we're doing with on-chain guilds as like scaling the small to medium enterprises of Web3. It's interesting because a couple of our guild leaders are actually here at this event today, and we've been talking and getting feedback about how they can grow and scale. Some of these guilds are, small, maybe 10 people playing together. Others are like thousands of people, very well organized, and they're getting direct deals with games for go-to-market campaigns and strategies. And so what we try to do is basically bring this identity on-chain to help them be more scalable, give them their own dedicated wallet, their own reputation stack, and allow them to grow basically as natively online businesses.
Awesome. Thanks. Oh yeah, Seb, you wanted to add something?
One thing I was thinking about, like during the boom of 2021, the PlayToEarn, like all the guild work was very human intensive and manual work. Imagine like in the same way, like the image you described, like creating a company, so like having a shareholder agreement, having your bylaws, all of that become a smart contract on chain, and like basically then everything is like you join a guild, you have already all the properties, the revenue you will hold by participating, and all of that can be leveraged by the application to build upon. Like games could look up for guilds and understand how much they split with players, see the players' data, and so on. So that's total decentralization for the benefit of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, and it doesn't just have to be player guilds, right? You can have guilds that are doing UGC, content creation. There's a lot of different things that people can do together and then have this entity where they can earn in crypto, not just the financial rewards, but maybe they can own assets, and then they can have their own reputation.
Transparency and reputation. Like you always struggle as a game developer, like how do I acquire user and what quality of user do I get? Now you have that.
Yeah, I was always amazed by the dedication, the level of dedication of some modders into these kind of games like World of Warcraft. They're not winning anything from it, but they're building constantly something to provide a better experience for the game they love. So imagine if you have an infrastructure on-chain, which could grant them a lot of things and all of their stakeholders. So definitely agree with you. Going back to the, I would say, ecosystem level, so with you, Justin. The particularity of Avalanche is to offer the opportunity for game developers to set up their own sovereign network. And we saw that with a lot of enhancements recently as well. And it's a big topic to say that a lot of games want to build their own network, let's say their own chain. Why does this apply to gaming specifically and their ability to acquire and retain users?
Yes, so I think the title of the talk today, we have activation and retention, and bad UX, UI destroys retention, right? So we kind of reverse engineer from the user's perspective, because at the end of the day, Avalanche, Ava Labs is a operator of blockchain. We meaning that we are a tech provider. So we realize that any game that aims to scale with massive users, right? Everyone wants that. You can't do that on a public blockchain because you'll be impacted by, there's a NFT minting going on, there's a financial applications launching every day, there's DeFi stuff. Your game and your users will be affected by all these things that are out of your control. So we, at Ava Labs, we came up with this notion of purpose-built blockchain. We used to call it Selfnet, and Avalanche L1 is your own EVM blockchain on top of Avalanche. And there's a MapleStory universe that's launching their game, and they're launching their own L1, EVM L1 on top of Avalanche. Off the grid, the first crypto game on PlayStation 5 and Xbox already live with the demo. They're not launching on Avalanche public blockchain. They need their own execution environment so that your game will not be impacted by things that are out of your control. So that's basically our philosophy. But when you think about, should I launch my own L1 EVM block? There's a lot of stress, right? But we actually have all the tools ready. So you can basically launch a, a same MapleStory L1 EVM blockchain within like 5-10 minutes. But it's actually 2 years of conversation. We did a lot of load testing with 100 millions of users. So it's the testing that we provide our consulting as well. So there's consulting, there's execution, there's architecting. All of that is coming onto your own execution environment for any and each game. So we're seeing this future of Avalanche as network of interoperable blockchains.
And I guess so you have a lot of game partners with their own subnets, but they don't have the same purpose or the same vision of the way they want to use it, right? It could be different ways they want to use the subnet they have on their site. Do you agree? Or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're here at the PlayToEarn events. So I just talked about gaming partners. We have MapleStory, Off the Grid, Shrapnel. I don't know if there's any fans of animation. Solo Leveling, they just launched their own L1 EVM chain on top of Avalanche because they needed gasless features. MapleStory is using their own token as gas fee. So that's something you can just customize, right? So that's that. But then the same philosophy applies to all the products outside of gaming too. So like in Singapore, last year in November, we announced our POC with JP Morgan City. They launched their own L1 customized for financial applications. So we're definitely gearing towards the network of custom chains.
All right. So we talk about community in a sense of game developers, guilds, but if we can focus on creators specifically, so with you, Seb, and maybe any other of our speakers who want to contribute to the question, what role should the community of creators should play to maximize activation and retention in your opinion? Because you have a lot of creators in your ecosystem, and is UGC, so user-generated content, the best way to activate a new audience and retain them?
So on the long term, and the big vision is, I believe, and that's the mission at Sandbox, is we want to empower anyone to become a creator, and we see as the future of gaming user-generated content. Like, I don't see any game in the future where the player won't be involved in some kind of task or content creation, from like creating their avatar, making their own level, their own maps, their own modes, and like participating to the overall economy. So that's how games turned into platform and that can live forever through that. However, bringing like creators for the first time comes with a certain number of challenges. Like you were describing before, like there's like the indies who are like very passionate about the topic, and they are excited by the fact that they have now access to a tool that allows them to make games for the first time without any programming knowledge. That's what the game maker of Sandbox provide. So they are going to like let their creativity express itself, run fun game, run fun content, but they don't necessarily have they are not yet equipped with all the skills and know-how that is required to actually run a game as a business. Live ops, marketing, community management, all those activities that allows you to drive users, to retain them, to engage them, and ultimately to turn into a success. So that's our role, to be not just the platform that provide access to the content creation, but also like to be there through that journey, like turn them from like young kids creator, but they're not necessarily kids, but like young first-time creator to like more mature creator who can live and sustain a living from that activity. And we've seen that a lot into the mobile game industry, which we come through. Like mobile free-to-play wasn't born in one day. Like the top grossing studio have been refining their strategy through data analysis, through live ops, through hiring the right talent and skills. And so to help the creator, we support them with like providing a lot of exposure and marketing money for the different games, running boot camps, 2 days boot camp where we help them professionalize their skills. On a monthly and quarterly basis, we've engaged with over 130 partner studios that we call the Trusted Partner Studio, where we give them like community management, marketing lesson, or how to promote and drive your own audience. Ultimately, and it's a big challenge, I would say, in Web3 gaming, is like yes, network effects are here, but don't rely only on like trying to grab the users that are in the existing ecosystem and cannibalize it for yourself. You need to work harder to attract always new entrants through the quality of your game, through the token incentive, through the marketing. At Sandbox, we do that pretty well by bringing brands and creators together. So when we have 400 major brands, like we onboard new users for the first time, more than half of the audience of Sandbox, so half of the 6 million users we have at Sandbox come to Web3 for the first time because they are fans of Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton, the Rabbids, Attack on Titan, the latest announcement we did. Some of them will stay and start discovering the user-generated content game. But if you as a creator publishing your game, you don't also work to build your own community, it will not sustain forever. So that's kind of like the message and like what we try to do to support that economy over a long time.
Awesome. Gabby, I don't know if you agree with that. Obviously, as a founder, but you are a big player. Yeah, you're involved in a lot of games that you support with YGG. So how do you feel about the role of players in terms of co-creation, but and how it can help games in terms of retention?
Yeah, so when we think of our community, we just don't think of them as people who are just playing a game. So for example, we've been very involved with a game called Parallel, which is a TCG. And an easy way to involve is just play the game and earn tokens, and certainly players can do that. We've been very involved at the top level of skill by having our esports team, but they're not just highly skilled people. They also create a lot of content that help bring new players to the game. And this has been very helpful because a lot of the TCG players coming from, say, Hearthstone or Marvel Snap are very skeptical with, like, for example, a Web3 TCG like Parallel, just because there's blockchain elements in the game. There's a lot of, talking to these players, there's actually a lot of negative connotations just because it's a blockchain-enabled game. And we work with a lot of these players to educate, like, this is what you get in the game. You can play it completely free, and you can actually earn money in the game by being skilled. And this requires a lot of, like, content creation. This requires community management, skills that you won't just get by people who are just playing the game and then ranking on the leaderboard. So playing the game is just one thing. A lot of our best guilds are very skilled at the other things that are needed to grow the community and grow the network, whether it's things like Discord moderation, content creation, UGC creation, like on-the-ground training, actually, like a lot of in-person onboarding boot camps. Our best guilds are really good at that.
It's a perfect segue to talk about, like you talk about competitive games. So coming back to you, Thomas, because obviously the infrastructure that you're building is really well focused on competition. So based on the topic we're just having in terms of involving the players, but with the competitive aspect, how do you feel about that?
So I think we have a different approach than the other people here, because we really want to enable players to become betters into our ecosystem, so that's our way to make them become Web3 players in a way. And we feel that our main goal is to make the community safe and fair, because obviously, and a lot of people here have witnessed it, when you introduce money into gaming, it becomes very difficult to moderate. And so the main goal of Coliseum is to make it fair by actually leveraging the community itself, so as guardians, so that they can really become moderators of their own community, so they become actors also. So a bit, as you said before, for World of Warcraft, they are building the community themselves. So it's really important, and it becomes their own asset. The community is becoming the asset of that they own, and that's really important when you look at like the behaviors in all gaming, not only Web3, obviously. So that's really our goal. And the second part, which is important, is that our strong belief is that if a player puts money at stake playing some games like League of Legends, PUBG, whatever, they will have more at stake, obviously. So it should make the game cleaner, less toxic. And in the end, if we do it well, we believe that can really also improve such environments and such gaming communities.
Perfect, thanks. All right, I like this one because it creates so much of a conversation, or maybe some fights. So we'll see. We're gonna have one here today. But token. Obviously, we're talking about acquisition, retention, and we see a lot of things happening in terms of should we have a token for those two purposes. So a token is reshaping the dynamics of online communities. So for many blockchain games, launching a token is the answer to activate its fan base, but also to retain them. How do you feel about that on your side? I don't know who wants to take the lead for this one.
All right, let's start with the positive side of having a token. I think like tokens are like a very powerful instrument to not only engage like your community of players into the game, but actually really to extend it much beyond. That's what we've seen at Sandbox with the Sand token. Sand now is like a top 100 cryptocurrency globally, according to CoinMarketCap. It's a top 5 gaming token. It's listed globally in Japan, US, Korea, and it's expanded its utility way beyond the sandbox. So it's been accepted as a means of payment by many games. It gave like benefits in like physical store, etc. But the part I like the most is that actually like people who wanted to join and embrace the idea of the metaverse and a decentralized virtual world governed by the player, even if they don't play, even if they don't create, even if they never touch sandbox, owning Sand token for them was part of the access to like the opportunity to support like the economy of such a virtual world and believe in like a bigger platform that would compete hopefully with Roblox and Fortnite one day. And that actually has been one of the largest success of Sandbox. Like people know Sandbox for essentially four things. One is Sand. Like there's countries where they don't know what we do, but they know Sand token. In Korea, I could walk the street and people know more about Sand token.
Yeah, because they just trade it, right?
Exactly, but it's a powerful instrument that attracted them into metaverse and Web3. Second has been land. Third has been like avatars, and then creators and brand. Okay, 5 things about Sandbox. But you see, like the power of that token has been amazing. Now, well, it comes with, I would say, a certain price. I wouldn't fall about like, okay, what's speculation, what's like financial incentive, and is it good or bad? Just like about like a token is a product by itself. It requires a lot of effort to manage, to design, to think about like how you're going to distribute it, and essentially to make sure that it actually not drive like an adverse effect, like starting to actually create like FUD and like the community being like disengaged because the value of the token drops. Whereas like you as a founder and entrepreneur and a whole your team work very hard to ship a better product and better things along that side. And there's one truth about like most tokens and altcoin in general, like they will never go beyond like the force of markets. And like Bitcoin and ETH will essentially still drive like the market line and market trends. And it's very hard to have like the sufficient kind of demand from the players and the user for your token so that the price will go up. And we've unfortunately now, like taking my president of Blockchain Game Alliance cap, we've seen so many entrepreneurs attracted only by the positive aspect and financial aspect and didn't realize that like rushing the launch of a token without necessarily the product and all the understanding behind actually like didn't help them on achieving their goal, and like actually added even more burden to manage between investor, the user. That's a short.
I'll give a different analogy to Seb's very logical answer. I think having a token is like having magic powers that are very hard to manage but very powerful. You have your company's runway, which is your health, and then having a token basically gives you mana with which you can cast spells. But casting spells aren't easy. You have to learn how to do them properly. You have to memorize them, and if you cast your spell and use the token and it doesn't go well, it will blow up in your face. So you have to be careful how to use it. But having a company with a product and a very strong token puts you in a much bigger advantage over a similar company without a token. That doesn't mean necessarily that you will win. So for example, there are, lots of muggles are very averse to magic, so they don't like tokens. That may change over time. But learning how to harness it properly, learning how to use it to incentivize without, going too much on the other side, introducing backlash or maybe killing your own product because of oversupply. Like it's a very difficult balance to have. So it's very powerful, but you have to use it responsibly.
Since they put it in a really interesting way, I'll just put it in a really boring way. Token is a new medium of financial instrument. It's something that never existed in the history of humans, because token can be both an equity, but it can also be a payment. So we never had that before. Like you own a share of NVIDIA, but you can't buy a burger with it, or you can trade it, or sell it, transfer it, right? But token is a really new instrument, so it's great, but it's confusing at the same time because it can do so many things. But I think speaking from our experience with gaming studios, I think people have different approaches when architecting the tokenomics. Some people are looking at it as an equity, so it represents your ownership in the game for the long term. But at the same time, your users are looking at it as a payment to just trade it on a daily basis or just every minute, right? So there's a confusion. So I think having the tokenomics that clearly defines how you look at tokens as sometimes as an equity, ownership of your game, but a payment, like defining clear ideas of tokenomics and looking at it as a financial instrument that can do both equity and payment is really important. But I see a lot of confusion because it can do so many things.
I don't have much to add. Maybe just yesterday I looked at some statistics from France, so it's a bit specific, but like only 7% of the population owns stocks in France, whereas 12% of people own tokens. So I mean, that shows how it's can be a very interesting tool for us for democratization of Web3. So I don't know the stat globally, obviously, but I will look for it after the panel. And I really think that we need to use it as a Web3 evangelist, but not to overuse it, because as Sebastien said it very well, it can be a difficult thing to repair.
Maybe I'd like to add just one thing based on what you said. Like, we want you all to have a bit of magic. So, like, our approach at Sandbox, anyone who join and create an account, like, they get a free NFT first of all. So, like, that gets them like
Sand
a transaction.
is like magic dust.
And so exactly, like, just do the tutorials FTE and you get some sand. And there is something powerful into getting you also to enjoy the ownership of a little something, not massive amount of money, like we're talking $1 or less, but let you experiment. What are you going to do? Save it, spend it, turn it straight. It's opening a new window of opportunity, and then you have the power to choose what you're going to do with it.
So to sum up, with power comes strong responsibility. So perfect. Thanks a lot, guys. I really enjoyed that one. Also, what you said, the token extend the utility of the token beyond the sandbox and as an ecosystem. Talking about that, you weren't there at the beginning of this conversation, but every year the BGA is actually launching their report, State of the Industry report, which is something you could find everywhere here today. And you just need to scan the QR code. I'm talking about token because you can actually win something if you actually fill out the form today, and part of it will be send tokens. So yes, you have a chance to have send tokens if you just fill out the form today, and we're going to make sure to pick a winner, which will be 2 winners. So it's going to be 250 send tokens, so for 2 winners. And we also have Amazon Ventures as well. So yeah, just doing my job, boss, that's all. So to continue our conversation, one of the things I saw in the news, Gameloft, obviously, one of the biggest game studios and mobile game publishers, announced last week that they will build, or they are building, the mobile game for Clenosaurus. Never know how to pronounce that one. I'm sorry. I hope you know that big one on Solana, very popular. The famous NFT collection, and they decided to actually extend the community they have, Web3 community, with a game. And they announced this partnership with a big one, Gameloft. The question will be, we're talking about acquisition a little bit, retention as well. So is this the recipe of success? Actually involve big company in the Web2 world, if we can call them Web2 gaming studios, and capitalize on the Web3 community we have, very successful one, like Clayton others. And is it the recipe? Like we should involve standard traditional game companies to make Web3 gaming successful. I don't know if Seb, you want to take the risk to be the first one?
It's been part of our mission at the Blockchain Game Alliance, to educate about the possibilities that blockchain technology brings, and definitely break that image that the traditional video game industry has, this is only for speculation, or it doesn't really come with concrete possibilities and use case beyond. I think that was why you founded it originally, Gabby, among the 8 members, together with Ubisoft among them, for example, so another big company. So actually, it's great to see larger game companies now are being interested in the technology aspect, launching on different blockchain new games. We were talking about MapleStory as well, launching from Nexon. This is one of the largest grossing game ever. They're doing so in a very controlled and experimental manner. So normally before they set up subsidiaries or new entities that would be dedicated to the Web3 side, so they don't mix so much with their traditional Web2 business or free-to-play business, and let those projects run until they grow significantly and they can have some takeaway they could apply to their traditional process. But recently we've seen an acceleration of the decline of the free-to-play industry and the traditional business model attached to it, free-to-play, privacy laws being in place, the different app stores not able to provide you IDFA and collect user data to serve you, you cannot target users anymore. So the famous equation, CPI versus LTV, has totally been challenged. Also in the post-COVID world, an inflation world with war with Ukraine, etc., players are actually spending much less. And this year has been a terrible year for the video game industry. In 15 years, I've never seen so many layoffs across all. Just this week again, Microsoft laid off 600 people. We've seen Activision Blizzard. We've seen the whole industry being very challenged. So on one side, cost of acquisition rise. On the other side, revenue per player decrease. That forces those companies to reinvent themselves. And right now, there's not been a lot of option on the table except exploring ownership, token, and Web3 in general. So we welcome those experiments, welcome those projects. I hope it will convert into bringing also more trust from the general gaming audience toward this technology. And I hope that the choice of the different blockchain and blockchain ecosystem they support will also ultimately translate down to our, the smaller developers into more users. Because that's one thing we didn't discuss, but it's still very fragmented into a decentralized world. So you have players and users on Solana, and on Ethereum, on Polygon, and Ronin, and Avalanche. And now there's not a lot of cross-chain solution that allows players who enter those different ecosystems to actually move along and play those games. So I hope that we'll see that come and emerge as a big topic in the next year.
Whenever I see a big company trying to come up with a major blockchain product, I'm naturally bearish, and there's 3 reasons, 3 very specific reasons for that. One is that if they are a publicly listed company, there's always that risk of backlash from the markets, and if they do get that backlash, it usually serves them well to walk back that project and just bury it and never see it again. Second is that there is internal risk. For example, in game development, there's a lot of game developers that actually believe everything blockchain and NFT related is a scam. And if you have been making free-to-play games and are trying to work with the same team to create Web3 games, then you may get internal resistance from doing this actually. And I've worked with some portfolio companies that have had to basically walk back their like Web3 game and turn it into a Web2 game and get backlash from both sides. So it was actually very bad. And then third is legal risk. Actually, legal risk is same with being a publicly listed company. Third is community risk, actually. Your existing user base may not want Web3 because they do think it's a scam. So all of these make it very hard for traditional companies to come up with good Web3 product. However, a lot of these same founders came from these big companies that have made good games and then started new companies that start with a fresh slate. Like, for example, the people from like Parallel or other games that have hired people that come from, could be Blizzard or Apple, that are really good product designers, but are coming with a kind of fresh slate, right? Of course, it's not to say that it can't be done, but there's a lot more challenges that cannot just be seen, right? Like if you're coming from outside and you say, oh, look at this big company, it's creating a blockchain game. It sounds very bullish, but you cannot see actually all of the different forces that they have to contend with inside.
So I want to make a little shift because at Avalanche, we're working with Web2 IPs. MapleStory is one of the biggest timeless IPs. It's been there for 20 years. And we also recently worked with Solo Leveling, which is an animation IP. It's a Web2 IPs. But I think having a popular IP into translating that onto Web3 and putting them on blockchain actually has a higher chance of success. But at the end of the day, you need a better gaming, like quality games. So I mean, MapleStory, the idea was very simple. MapleStory has been there for 20 years, but there was just one question: what if these items were actually yours? Like, what if the items were actually predetermined in terms of quantity? Because when you get this item, it'll be just way more fun, right? So that's a little twist of existing IPs and just blockchain making an improvement. And we're seeing that happening with MapleStory, also with Solo Leveling. So I think, well, it might not be an equation for success, but I think it's a good idea to leverage IPs with strong community, strong users. I mean, it just works for better adoption. So I'm for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. I think, and I think the market is a bit more mature, maybe thanks to actually the gaming industry, which is or because of. But I mean, like 3 years ago when we started developing a Web3 game, it's really something Web2 environment didn't want to touch at all. And now I feel that some stuff are changing, to be honest. And for example, actually, I was discussing this morning with someone from Vivendi, the holding company of Gameloft, and they told me that they even considered switching Asphalt, which is their main franchise, to blockchain. So, for example, if they had considered that, is that they really feel that it's really something that can be significantly interesting for them. So I really think that minds are changing, maybe due to the crisis. So, but I think we all know that actually changes almost come with difficulties. I think, like most changes, and ourselves we are witnessing it. Like 3 years ago, as I said, it was really difficult to do partnerships with Web2 companies. And right now we've signed several of them. We've signed, for example, Razer as a partner, something that honestly we wouldn't even consider like, I think 1 or 2 years ago. So I really think things are going in the right way for Web3 gaming, and we have to be ready for it and not waste it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. I think we cover not maybe every topics of what we could say about Web3 success, but it was good to have every one of your opinions on the different topics we discussed together. And I really agree with everything you said at the end, which are something we see in the BGA and based on the conversation we have with members as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for attending the panel. And I see you in 30 minutes for our next panel, which will be about collaboration, how Web3 is actually changing the way and empowering game companies to collaborate with each other. So thanks again, guys.